Mississippi River and entering into Iowa. Well, I'm getting a little bit tired. My eyes are stinging. I guess that can happen after 16 hours on the road. So here's a rest area, and there's actually a shady parking spot. Now the thing is, it's 87 degrees. So I was thinking maybe I'll wait till nightfall before I stop and try and sleep. But if I'm in the shade, it might work. And, you know, of course, it should cool down in a couple hours. So I think I might see if I can get some sleep here. But at least a short rest will do me good anyway, so let's see what happens. First thing I'm going to do is crank the AC for a couple of minutes before I shut off the engine. Though as soon as I lay back and crack my windows, that cool air will exit here pretty fast. Well, just about 4 hours of sleep. So now we're going to put a few more miles behind us. Need to get some gas and need to get a bag of ice and put ice in my cooler. Who knows, maybe that's all we'll accomplish before I decide I need some more sleep. Driving a couple of hours. Here comes the rest area. I'd like to stop, but the sign said it's parking only. No facilities. Modern rest area, 14 miles it says. Okay. We're in western Iowa, 32 miles to the Nebraska line. How do I know it's 32 miles to the Nebraska line when I'm not using GPS? Here's something you may not know about the interstate highways in the United States that's kind of interesting. The mile markers are measured from the western boundary of a state or the southern boundary of a state, if that interstate highway crosses that state line. And so, if you're going west or south and you're headed toward a state line, then the mile markers will tell you how far it is to that line. If you're going north or east, well, then you're just out of luck. Just have to guess, I guess. All right, here we go. I need a sink and a water fountain. I want to brush my teeth, fill up one of my water bottles. Oh, maybe I'll do a little more. Washcloth, clean shirt, toothbrush, mouthwash, empty bottle. Let's go. Okay, we freshened up a bit. My dirty clothes bag. Here's a little idiosyncrasy of the Silver Streak. See this duct tape here, and it's just kind of hanging. I'm gonna leave it be for now, and I'll tell you why. So the problem is this quarter panel right here, there should be like a plastic insert in the wheel well right here that's attached to this thing, and that helps keep the quarter panel firm. If you look on this other side, you see this black plastic piece right there, and so that helps keep this attached. So on the other side, the problem is that it doesn't have that because it broke and fell out of there. But when the wind gets behind this thing, it causes it to come out and flap. So I duct tape it to this panel, and it'll hold for a while. It holds for a few months, and then it finally gives way, and I'll be going down the road and I'll hear this thing rattling and flapping, and it comes out quite a ways too, you know, it'll come out like this. So then I have to pull over, redo the duct tape job, but then it'll hold for a few months and then need redone. So last night I got up about 10:30 and drove for a couple of hours. I was trying to take care of some chores. It should have been simple. It should have just been one stop. Gas, refill the coffee thermos, and ice for the cooler. But instead of accomplishing all that in one stop, it took me 4 stops. So first, I pulled off at an exit that had a gas station, and as I approached the gas station, I realized, oh shoot, they're closed, but maybe I can still get gas because pay at the pump, right? And so that was the case. I was able to get gas. Okay, fine. So go on down the road to stop somewhere else to take care of the other things. All right. Next stop was you got off at an exit. There was a pilot station. Now pilots are usually pretty reliable, but as I approached the door of this one, there was a sign that said, showers aren't available right now. Sorry for the inconvenience. And I thought, ooh, okay, what does that mean? Is there water out? Because if they've got no water, obviously that's a problem. I go to try to get some coffee and they're completely out. They don't have any. So I'm like, well, okay, I guess I can at least get the ice here. Well, I go to the register and there's a sign saying it's closed. Go to the other register. I go to that one. There's a sign there. That one's also closed. So there are a couple of employees behind the counter and they're facing away from me. They never acknowledged me, but I could see that they were very preoccupied. They seemed to be very focused trying to deal with whatever crisis they were going through, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to bother them. So there are a couple of self-checkouts there, but I'm thinking, well, how do you do a bag of ice at a self-checkout, right? Because it's usually, you don't usually scan a bag of ice. They're usually out front. You just tell the cashier you want one, you pay for it, and then you go get it. So I didn't want to have to try to figure out how you do that at a self-checkout, so I'm like, I'll just move on. So go to the third stop, and the coffee there is in it's not in a tank with a spigot. It's one of those thermos type. It's like a cylindrical thermos thing, and those are hit or miss because sometimes they're not hot enough by the time you get to them. So first thing I do is check to see how hot the coffee is. It's steaming hot. It's great. I'm like, okay, good. I go to fill up my thermos, and I can only it runs out when I only have half a thermos. And there was another kind of coffee there. I thought, well, okay, maybe I can fill the rest of it up with this, but that one was out. So I only got half the thermos full. So I go to the register and say, just so you know, you're out of coffee. I was only able to get my thermos halfway filled. I'll still pay for a refill, but And they said, no, we won't charge you. I said, okay, well, I also need a bag of ice. They said, well, we're out of ice, I'm afraid. So then finally, the fourth stop, I got the ice. So after all those stops, getting back on the road, I guess that wore me out, because around 12:30, I pulled into the next rest area and went to sleep, and then slept for 5 hours, which means by the time I woke up, the coffee that I did get wasn't hot anymore. But that's life on the road. It's fine. Speaking of which, let's get back on the road. Coming up on Council Bluffs, Iowa, and then very shortly we'll be crossing into Nebraska. Most of I-80 in Nebraska is pretty straight and flat and boring. Alright, found a few things of interest in that first building. Now I'm going to head across the way to the Gus Fonner Memorial Rotunda. And there's a lot more to the grounds here. It extends way over that way. There's a lot more that we can't see. So after checking this out, we're going to jump in our car and go over there in that direction, where there is a railroad town. Let's see what we got in here. Now, something that one of those displays in there points out is that the earliest ancestors of the horse lived here in this part of North America, and migrated out of North America and into Asia via the Bering Land Bridge, I guess millions of years ago. It's way before our species started to migrate the other way along the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas. So when the people of the Old World and the people of the New World met in, the 16th century, there were no horses here. So basically the horse, through its lineage, has made its way all the way around the world, just as our species did. So now we're getting back in the car in order to drive over to another part of the grounds here and check out the railroad town. All right, let's walk around this thing counterclockwise. Tour the whole thing. I'm told we can get ice cream along the way, which might be the thing to do. It's very hot and humid today. Dr. Deffenbaugh. Hot bath, $1/4. Can I get a cold bath for that price? Because I think that's what I need today. Silver dollar. This is where I hear we can get ice cream. So I'm told that this was an actual depot. It didn't sit here, it was moved here. There wasn't actually a railroad town here. I guess these are authentic buildings, but they've all been moved here from other places to create this collection of a simulated, town along a railroad. These tracks here, I don't know if they have also been sort of moved and put in here, because they look like they kind of used to function. He did say that they had a, sort of an excursion train that ran around the grounds and used these tracks at one time. But those tracks over there, that's the last remaining bit of trackage from the Grand Island St. Joseph Railway, which went from St. Joseph, Missouri to here, Grand Island, Nebraska, and with stops along the way. And then when the Union Pacific was built through here, which goes from here, it goes east to Omaha and west to San Francisco, that line would have linked up with it. So for example, if you were in St. Joseph, Missouri and wanted to take a train to San Francisco, then you would have come along that line into Grand Island first, and then presumably had to switch to a Union Pacific train to go to San Francisco. That sliding door, on the other side of that is the freight room, and so if you were a passenger and you left your baggage inside, then the handlers would bring it here, load it onto this cart, and then just roll the cart up to the train to put your baggage on the train. William Siebler, the blacksmith. Well, I might spend a little more time wandering around here and going into these structures, the ones that are open. If it weren't so hot, I think I'm going to head on back to the parking lot. Kearney, Nebraska, and this is about the time when I transitioned to filling up my gas tank more often, probably. So if you're from back east and you're one of these people who likes to drive with the tank on empty, you like to get that needle below the slash if you can. You probably don't want to do that when you get far enough west. So I'm in the habit of usually when my tank gets down to about a quarter, I'll look for gas and stop and fill up. And you can get away with that in the east and in Iowa and in eastern Nebraska, it's not too bad. But once you get past Kearney, Nebraska, west of here, the gas stations get farther apart. Sometimes you'll see a sign that says next service is 75 miles or something like that. So this is where I'll start looking for gas as soon as the tank gets down to half, and then stop as soon as I can and fill it up, just to be safe. You don't want to get in a situation where you run out of gas and you're 40 miles from anywhere. I refilled my tank again, my coffee tank that is. I had a nap for about an hour earlier at a rest area with the car running and the AC going because it was still over 90 degrees at that time. It's down to about 84 now. I'm thinking that if it gets below 80 and I find a rest area with a shady spot where I can park, then I might be ready to go back to sleep. But just because the spot is shady when I park there doesn't mean it'll stay shady, you know, the earth rotating and all. We're 107 miles now from the Wyoming line, and I see from my phone that we must have crossed into the mountain time zone. I guess I didn't remember that the western part of Nebraska is in the mountain time zone, so that means we gain another hour. Not 5:53, but 4:53 now. There we go. Oh yeah, it's nice and hot. This is a Flying J, which is similar to Pilot. I mean, they seem to be pretty much the same. I think they're owned by the same company. So, Flying J, Pilot, one's as good as the other.